To introduce our speaker today, I had to do a little research. It turns out that across that water, right out that window there's a town called Tampa.
Really?
Who knew? And it's named after the bay itself. My family always just knew that area is the place you had to go through with all the traffic to get to Disney World. I've heard about an airport over there, but we have Allegiant Air right here in Pinellas County. And Allegiant goes where all those other airlines really don't want to. I mean, where's better than Fargo? So why cross the bay to that other airport? Nevertheless, across the bay there is a town, and with the buildings, and the people, and the government, and the mayor. And that mayor is known now and forevermore as Dick Greco. Okay then. You beat Greco? Okay. Okay then, our speaker today is indeed the current mayor of Tampa. Originally from Illinois, he went to school at Penn State where he began his training to beat Greco by playing lacrosse. Eventually moving to Florida, he served on the Tampa City Council for 8 years. After a loss to Pam Iorio for mayor in 2003, and a loss to Brian Blair for county commission. Brian Blair, really? In 2004, our speaker attended to his political consulting business before throwing his proverbial hat back into the ring. During the mayoral campaign, our speaker focused a lot of attention on what he called quality of life crimes, including prostitution, rape clubs, public urination, and panhandling. Does Tampa really have an excessive amount of public urination going on? Among his fellow mayoral opponents, our speaker said that he had spent the most amount of time dealing with prostitutes. He didn't say if they were good negotiators. And during his public service, our speaker spent a lot of time standing firm against workers in the sex trade. As a councilman in 2000, he took on former Tiger Bay guest Joe Redner by backing the infamous 6-foot separation rule designed to outlaw lap dancing. I always wondered why 6 feet, Mayor? Today, your police rarely enforce that law, so I'm told. On panhandling, our speaker said, panhandlers need to be gone. It's symptomatic of a much larger issue. Homelessness is a much larger question, but you can't allow deviant behavior to continue. Our towns know something here about homelessness. Mr. Mayor, are panhandling and homelessness really deviant behaviors? Tampa will be a regular source of national news as it readies itself to host the Republican National Convention next summer, and our speaker will be in the spotlight. We really appreciate you traveling across the great big bay to visit with us today on your way to the beach. We hope that your stay in St. Petersburg is refreshing. In our town, we don't really have a lot of people peeing in public, unless they really need to. Seriously, it's an honor to have you visit with us today. Tigers, please give a roaring Tiger Bay welcome to the mayor of the great city of Tampa, Bob.
This is going downhill already. And the reason it was 6 feet was we measured your arms and they're 4 feet, so we had to keep you away from it. As they said, they only brought change. You didn't bring anything more than 35 cents when you were tipping. It's good to be here. It really is. I'm not kidding about that. Unfortunately, I'm in sort of uncharted territory. At least in Tampa, I know who all the wingnuts are, and so I know where the crazy questions are going to be coming from. But in this audience, I don't know. Mayor Foster says he's going to give me some signals as to who might potentially ask an explosive question, and so I'm counting on you, Bill. You know, I'm out here hanging by myself, so it's. But it's good. You know, I look around this room and I see so many of you that I have worked with and known over the 20-something years that I've been involved in local government. When I first started in 1987 as the assistant to the former mayor of Tampa, Sandy Friedman, Helen Levine was over there in Hillsborough County, and there were so many of you, Lynn Mormino, Rick Kreisman, who have been friends of mine for a long, long time, and we worked together on a lot of issues. And so, for me, I can't say that this is coming home necessarily, but certainly it is nice to be here with you and to see so many of you that have given so much to this community. Let me tell you a little bit about sort of how I got here. If you had bet in May of last year that I would be standing here as Tampa's next mayor, there weren't many people who would have bet with you. I was running against some very serious folks, including former Mayor Greco, including 3 others who had never lost a campaign, ever. And I had. And if you had asked anybody in Tampa whether or not I was going to win that race, they probably would have told you not only no, but heck no. That there was no way that Tampa was going to do something other than what it's always done. There was no way that Tampa wasn't going to settle for what they've always known. There was no way that I was going to beat Dick Greco. Heck, I had lost. And I said, okay, game on. And 25,000 houses later, through the heat of the summer, when no one else would come out, when it was 105 degrees out there, house after house, neighborhood after neighborhood, we knocked on those doors and we asked people one simple thing. We asked them to believe in the capacity of the city of Tampa to be great again. We asked them to not settle for what they've always known, just because they've known it. But we asked them to believe in something bigger than just themselves. Not just keep doing the same thing and electing the same people, because you know what happens, we get the same results. But we asked them to think about what the possibilities of our city could be, and by extension, the Bay Area. We asked them to sort of close their eyes and imagine that place that Tampa once was, that place in America that everybody wanted to be, America's next great city, the place where young people came from all over the country to be a part of, that place that folks used to write about. I can remember sitting in the mayor's office when Charlotte, North Carolina used to come to Tampa, Florida to see how we did things. Look at Charlotte now. But more importantly, a year ago May when I got into that race, I knew one fundamental thing, and it's what drove me to house after house after house, when no one said I could win, when times were literally, I was so hot that I was seeing double, but we kept walking. And we kept walking because I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, like many of you. And I know that I have an obligation to leave my city in better shape than it was given to me. And I understand very clearly that my wife and I are not spending a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of love and sending our girls to the best schools that we can to have them go to Raleigh, Durham, or Austin, Texas. I'm just not doing it. I'm just not doing it. And so if the folks in Tampa wanted to settle for being mediocre, of running in second place, they had lots of choices. But I asked them not to. And when it was all said and done, that message of hope, of aspirations, of finding a way to transition our community from an old economy to a new economy, worked. And I think it was a turning of the page in Tampa's history. Not only the obvious turning of the generational page, but more importantly, I think it was a turning of the page in the sense that Tampa is no longer willing to settle for being a second-tier Sunbelt city. We have more potential than any place that I've ever lived in. If you look at the assets that we have in our community, the University of South Florida, Moffitt Cancer Center, the Alzheimer's Center, Tampa General Hospital, we have the makings of what the new economy should look like. Because I can tell you this, my girls are not coming home to a call center job. They're just not. And I'm tired of losing our best and our brightest kids to these other emerging Sunbelt cities. See these young people right here? See these young people right here? I guarantee you, if we don't create an economy that warrants the education that they're getting, they're going somewhere else. And some of your kids have gone somewhere else too. And I'm tired of it. And so for me, it was a passion. It wasn't just a job. I didn't fear losing because I have felt losing. And it didn't kill me. And so when you go into this not fearing a darn thing, you will say things that make people politically uncomfortable. You will rattle their cages. You will shake them out of that sense of entitlement. Because you know something? Right now we're out there competing every day on the global stage. We're not competing with Jacksonville and Orlando. We're competing with American cities and we're competing with international cities. And if we don't get our act together as a region, we will fall further and further behind. That was the message that I took to those 25,000 houses. And it worked. And it worked. Because I think people are tired of being tired. There's a pent-up optimism in the Bay Area about what we could be. And we all know it. Bill Foster knows it. Frank Hibbert in Clearwater knows it. I know it. Our county commission knows it. John Maroney knows it. Our legislative partners know it. There is nothing that should stop us if we get focused together, because we will either succeed as a region or we will fail alone. What is good for St. Petersburg benefits Tampa. What happens in Hillsborough County benefits Pinellas County. We've got to learn to live and to work and to get along as a region. The days of us competing with each other are over. The days of party preferences and party labels actually matter are over. The days of artificial boundaries on a map and bridges that have not brought us together but have been a barrier are over. Period. It is a new day. It is a new day in this area. And I think you see it certainly in the relationship I have with your mayor, in the relationship I had with your former mayor, the relationship I have with the county commissioners. I mean, we understand that we have got to work together. We are competing with other regions out there. We're not competing with individual cities. We're competing with regions. And we have more in common than divides us. So it's time for all that other BS to be put aside. There'll be issues that we disagree on, but we can't ever forget that we are forever linked together. If he succeeds, I succeed. It's that simple. And so over the last 6 months, we've tried to change the tone of the discussion in Tampa. When I walked into the office, I was $34 million in the hole. Mr. Huff, I could have used a loan. $34 million in the hole. That wasn't Pam Oriole's fault. I was lucky I followed Pam Oriole. When Pam Oriole took office in 2003, there was $20 million in what's called fund balance. That's sort of the escrow account. That's what happens when you have a hurricane. You need that money to start cleaning up before the federal government reimburses you. $20 million doesn't even clean up Bayshore Boulevard. When I took office on April the 1st, there was $120 million in fund balance. Pam Oriole did a great job as a steward of our money, and certainly from my perspective, I'm lucky that I followed her. So that $34 million wasn't her problem. That wasn't her doing. That is what it is. We all know it. We deal with it every day. Declining revenues. Legislature, not Rick, that sends us unfunded mandates. And Rick sympathizes with that as a former council member here. He knows. So we got that $34 million down to something less than $6 million. We scraped that budget as hard as we could scrape it. We found money where folks didn't even know it existed. We didn't lay anybody off, and we didn't raise taxes. But we got that money, that budget down to something less than 6 that we will have to tap the fund balance for. But it will be equally as bleak next year. And your mayor's in the same position I am. We've got to scrub this budget again next year and find efficiencies and find ways to do things better. Not all of them are going to work. Some of them are controversial. But you have to understand we aren't doing this because we want to do it. We're doing it because we have to do it. So we managed to get through that. It's been a whirlwind 6 months for me personally. As long as I've been around this office, it's still very different when you're sitting on the other side of the desk. I can tell you the happiest folks about me getting elected are my 2 daughters. My 10-year-old said to me, she said, "Daddy," this was right after we got elected, "Daddy, it is so cool that you're going to be the mayor." Because the Secret Service is going to take me to school. I said, honey, that's Malia and Sasha. That's not us. I said, honey, but when you start dating, the Tampa Police Department's going to take you. Oh boy. So it's been an interesting 6 months. Many of you have read about my car. How many of you have read about my car? The Pimpmobile. Have you heard this? I'll tell you the story for those of you who haven't heard about this car. Mayor Iorio had this little green Toyota Prius. You know, being practical, Pam. I don't think I could fit in it. You know, it was green, and you know, it got like 150 miles to the gallon. It was good. But the lease had run out when I got to office, and I was like, man, this is not a Mayormobile. You've got to get rid of this green thing. I mean, get it out of here. So I said to our police chief, I said, go get me a car. I don't want the taxpayers to have to buy a car. Go down to the impound lot where we pick up these cars from bad guys and go get me a car. And they said, okay, Mayor. It's good to be the mayor. So they came back with this car. I'm surprised you didn't hear me come up. Now, in the impound lot, when you take cars from drug dealers and you know other bad characters, they're usually nice cars. There are BMWs down there and Lexuses and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, I'm not a car guy. Just give me a car that works. Give me something I can get through high water with. Not that we have a stormwater issue. So they came back with this big, blacked out windows, monster Yukon Denali. I mean, it is a Mayormobile. It's a Mayormobile. They could fit your orange scooter in there. The problem was they would come rolling up here, and I'm like, this is a great car. Thanks, guys. It's got 106,000 miles on it, 7 years old. It works fine. But you got to take the 27-inch spinners off this thing. So they took the 27-inch spinners off the thing. But the problem was it had glass-packed mufflers. Now, I wasn't a car guy, so I didn't know what they were, but that means they're loud. So my 6-year-old, I take my girls to school every day. And, you know, I get them up, and they're first grade and 5th grade. Get them up every day, get them dressed, I make their lunch, I take them to school, they all load into the Mayormobile. First week we went to school, and we're rumbling down Bayshore Boulevard, and I pull up to the Academy of the Holy Names. And I'm just imagining the sisters standing up there like this. Because my hand still hurts from the days of the sisters when I was younger. And so my 6-year-old said to me, she said, Daddy, wait right here. I said, okay, honey. You know, I figured, I don't know what she was going to do. So she runs into her little classroom and remember, this is Academy of the Holy Names, it's quiet. It's quiet. She comes running out with all of her classmates. She's like, Daddy, rev the engines. We rattled every window in the Academy of the Holy Names. So if you see a large black SUV rolling around here with glass-packed mufflers without the spinners, that's me. But it's been good. Now, we've got a lot on our agenda. Tampa historically has been challenged as a place that's very tough to do business. Our permitting and regulatory process is akin to getting your teeth pulled without anesthesia. I mean, it is very, very difficult. Those of you who are in the real estate business, the stories about Tampa's permitting processes are legion. So we're going to blow that up and start again. I can't go out and preach the gospel of Tampa if I'm not competitive, and if I haven't cleaned my own house. So we're starting down that road to make us a more competitive place to do business. As the person who introduced me said, we got the RNC coming next August. It is a team effort. Mayor Foster is as involved as Mayor Hibbert is. Just imagine this. 15,000 journalists here in the Tampa Bay area for a week to 10 days. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to showcase the Bay Area for the entire world. Other than the Olympics, the political conventions are the most watched television event out there. We will never, ever get an opportunity to showcase this community and this Bay Area like we will do next August. And so we need to find a way to take advantage of it. We need to be disciplined about the message we deliver. We need to deliver it in every platform in which people communicate, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or you name it. We need to do it in the language that people are listening and watching it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to tell the world, and I tell people all the time, I said this, look, I'm a Democrat. It's not a partisan job, I'm a Democrat. They may not even let me into the damn thing. But I will tell you this, I will be the best host and the best ambassador that I can be, because this is not, for me, a partisan event. This is an economic development opportunity. And every one of you should think the same way. It's going to be a pain in the neck for those of us who live nearby. There'll be issues with security and logistics. I mean, we'll have every wingnut lunatic in the world show up down here. They tend to follow Republicans more than they do the Democrats. I'm not talking about the delegates now. And my Republican friends say that's because all the wingnuts are registered Democrats. But there will be people here who are not saving the whales and the PETA folks and the whatever other causes they have. There will be people here who are serious about causing mayhem. Serious about causing mayhem. The anarchists, which they are affectionately lumped into a group as, they're dangerous. They're violent. They are not here representing any cause or exercising their First Amendment rights. They are here to do damage. And we need to be prepared for that. We are going to have to hire 4,000 police officers to make sure that the delegates and the nominees and the staffs have a safe experience. We encourage people to exercise their First Amendment rights. I think Largo's a fine place. I'm teasing anybody from Largo, I'm just kidding. Paul, don't write that in the paper tomorrow, because everybody at Largo's going to get upset with me. Fortunately, none of them can vote for me, so it's all right. But we're going to have to be prepared to deal with this. I mean, and if you study the after-action reports from some of the other cities, there are challenges. I've decided that we're going to deputize Grady Judd. This will be interesting when the anarchists meet Grady Judd. That will be a sight to behold. But it's going to be a challenge for all of us. But it is, in spite of all of that, it is going to be an amazing experience for this area. We are good at hosting big events. We've done 4 Super Bowls. We are going to find out in a week whether we're selected for the 5th one in 2015. It will be a team effort because many of the delegates will be over here in your hotels. I think they're going to have an event at the Trop. So you will be the beneficiary of a huge segment of this convention. But that provides logistical issues for us. In Minneapolis, literally what they did, some of the protesters, was hung a banner across one of the bridges coming into Minneapolis-St. Paul, and then they jumped off the edges and suspended themselves there far enough down that the police couldn't get to them, the fire trucks couldn't get a ladder to them, in order to disrupt traffic. So if you think about the ingress and egress out of downtown Tampa, a lot of it is the bridges coming across here, the 3 or 4 bridges. The delegates will be coming from hotels over here on this side or down at the beaches, and we've got to be very careful.